You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.
Rob, what's good, homie?
Mike, what's happening, man? What's the good word this week? You still recovering?
We're a few minutes late here, coming in hot. That's how we roll. That's how I roll sometimes.
You're a few minutes late. Not we are a few minutes late.
So that's why I said that's how I roll sometimes, you know. Got to come in hot. But what's good, man? What's good, homie?
Yo, recovering off of US Open week, man, last week. I had a very good, detailed conversation last night with none other than Mr. Chad Murphy, the executive director of USBC. We chatted for about half hour on the phone, and it was a very good conversation. It was very informative, and I appreciate Chad taking the time to call and talk to me, just to give me a little bit of DL on what's going on with the USBC, and he gave me some information on prize funds and just membership, and I can't wait to share some of these details with everybody, to just kind of give it an outlook on what's going on out there, right, where people probably don't know, including myself, Mike. A lot of the comments that I make comes from a fan perspective, right? Sometimes as a fan in anything, right? Bowling, New York Jets, New York Mets. If you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, and you're always commenting about sports in general, Mike, you might not make the most informative comments because you don't really know what's going behind the scenes. But as a fan, you only see what's on the outside of the surface sometimes, right? So we'll talk a little bit later because we're going to get into a big conversation about the U.S. Open this week. There's a lot of storylines, right, with the U.S. Open. So I can't wait to get into it. But first,
there's
man,
a lot of storylines about the U.S. Open that have really not much to do with the U.S. Open or the competition of the U.S. Open or who won the U.S. Open. But yeah, we can get into it, and you can't wait to go over the details. I can't wait to ignore the details and talk about what I want to see happen anyway, regardless of what's going on behind the scenes.
Sure.
Is that cool?
Well, that's
all right?
That's what we do. Well, that's what we do, right?
That's what I do. That's what I do. I'll be honest, I don't really have much interest in all the details. Like, to me, it's like this is what should be done from the fans' perspective, and that's what should be done because the fans are the ones that are, they're trying to attract and please, etc. I'm open to different things. But you asked how I am. I got to be honest. And we haven't. We're coming in hot tonight, right? So we didn't talk about this at all, right? We haven't discussed this at all, but there was some tragic news in the bowling community yesterday, and the bowling community lost a young guy by the name of Mike Marcus, Pennsylvania guy, Rob. I didn't know him. I'm not going to come on here and pretend to know him. I've seen him throw the rock quite a few times. Dude could play. There was no question about that. Had quite a few wins around the local area that I was aware of. Anyway, we know some people who closely know him, are friends with him, and really just whether you know someone or you don't know someone, you hear news like someone passing away at such a young age in such an unexpected way. And I talked to a few people about this today, and it's scary. It is. It's scary. Like you have kids, you have families, you have people you care about, and to have to stare that realization down of knowing like, hey, sometimes life is that fragile. It's definitely a reminder. So I definitely wanted to start the show tonight by just remembering Mike Marcus. As I said, not that I knew him or had a personal relationship with him, but in terms of the bowling community. And the bowling community being a small community, especially the competitive bowling community, everything I've heard about Mike has been positive and good. And I just want to send my thoughts and prayers out to his family and the people that are important to him. And anybody in the bowling community that knew him or may have had a relationship with him of some kind, like I said, tragic news. I mean, there's no other way to put it. There's no good way to discuss that and get into it. And I don't mean to start the show on such a negative note or a somber note, but I did think it was important to acknowledge that, because it's a JBT guy, Rob, too, right? Like I know, again, not that he was the same era as us or anything, but there's a bond amongst people who have bowled JBTs, whether you bowled the same years or you didn't. I think there's always that pipeline of communication of what's going on in the JBT. So you see that a lot. So, I definitely wanted to put that out there for the start of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. My thoughts and condolences out. I was Facebook friends with him. He was close with a lot of my good friends, including, I know, Johnny Petragula Jr. I know he was pretty close with. So, the bowling family is a small bowling family. We all have each other's backs on a lot of it, on a lot of times. So, definitely we're thinking about it. And hey, it definitely makes you humble, puts life in perspective, makes you want to live your life fullest every day. And, I know it's cliche, but you want to live every day like it's your last. I mean, it really puts that saying in perspective too, for sure. So, thoughts and condolences and prayers to, the family and friends. And hey.
I also, again, not we didn't discuss much of this, and I'm not going to get deeply into this because we are here to discuss bowling and keep it light. But I do want to say, with every disturbing event that goes on in our country as of late, I just want to say that it does become harder and harder for me to come on here and do a bowling podcast and keep it light and stick to the subject of bowling and the light stuff that we like to do when there's really so much bullshit going on in our country, and it's concerning to me. It's upsetting to me. And I think that, Rob, a lot has happened since we've done this podcast and been on the air. And, we as a team decided not to make this podcast a political outlet in any way. Right. So I'm not going to go deep down that road, but I do want to say, that although I sit here tonight and we'll keep it light and talk about bowling, etc., things need to change. Things need to change there. And I'll say this also. You want to come at me on social media and have a discussion, that's fine. I'm sitting here saying this, as a white male in our society, as a teacher in our society. I'm also going to say, as somebody who has numerous family members, including in my immediate family, that were police officers. And, honestly, things need to change. Things need to change. And if you can't see that perspective, I find it really hard to find common ground. But it's tough time, man. It's tough time in our country, Rob. It's a tough time, lost in the bowling community. But before we get into some of the lighter stuff, I just wanted to say that. So,
all right, well said, Mike. And maybe I feel like we need to get Mike. We need to elect Mike as a elected official.
I want
get
no
Mike
parts
on.
of that.
I don't blame you. I don't think anybody wants a part of that.
Oh my God. I want no parts of that. I mean, honestly, some of the roles that these people have to take are, they're phony
Big Mike
to
for
me.
Congress.
But
Big Mike for Congress.
I am not going to sit here and pretend to have any of the answers. That's something that I do not have. And I'm certainly not going to put, not put, problems out there without kind of being able to discuss the solutions. But, just generally speaking, it's a little tough to, I'm downstairs watching the news before we come up here and do this podcast. And
is that why you were late? Is that why you were late?
No, it wasn't. I wasn't. I was actually watching the news at dinner, and then I had to run out, and then that's why I was late. But nonetheless, I'm watching the news before the podcast, and it's just tough. Like I said, I watch that stuff, and I have a lot on my mind, and it weighs on me, and it's stuff that I think a lot about. I have young kids who are going to be a part of this world as adults in almost no time, and it's concerning to me, man. Listen, if we want to do a separate podcast sometime about some of the stuff, I guess we can. I'm not, like I said, I'm not getting into it. I'm not getting into it.
I can't deal with that heat online.
I just don't want people to think that these guys like are clueless about things going on, and they come on here and talk bowling and this and that. Like, we're gonna do what we do, but at the same time, I just want to, from my perspective, say like, yeah, as more nonsense unfolds in our country, it becomes a little bit harder to ignore it, even in a medium like this. So.
Okay. Well said,
right,
Mike.
man.
Let's talk
No
about
doubt.
some. Let's
I
talk about
said
some
my
bowling.
piece. Let's talk about bowling. Where you want to go, Rob? You tell me.
We're going to talk. Let's talk U.S. Open, okay? Because there's two parts of the U.S. Open that need to be discussed, okay? The tournament itself, right, and then the TV show, which is a whole nother ball game, all right? But to me, like the major storyline on this U.S. Open show, U.S. Open tournament, excuse me, was the conditions, right, and the urethane, and that's really what you've been seeing online. The hotbed of discussion, right, is the urethane, the conditions. Right now, at one time in the tournament, I think Randy even Peterson said it on the show, is he walked in and there was 24 finalists, and I think 23 people out of the 24 were using urethane. Okay, so my question to you, Mike, is there's been a lot of discussion on this, and I'm throwing this to you, right? Is urethane good or bad for the sport? I mean, that's a pretty general question, and it's a pretty out there question. But is it a good or bad for the sport, or is it just it is what it is, and it's not good or bad? It's just
it's
in the
neither.
middle.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm not going to give a controversial take if that's what you're looking for here. I don't really have a strong opinion either way. I kind of feel like it's neither. It's neither good nor bad. It exists. It's a piece of equipment. I don't see what the bad is. If someone were to offer me an explanation of the bad side of it, I'm not sure there'd be many arguments there that are gonna impact me too much. Here, can I go a different direction to answer your question?
Go ahead, any direction you want.
So, like,
go ahead.
To me, the issue isn't the ball. The issue is the lane conditions.
Okay. Sure.
Right? Like, I mean, do you agree with that or no?
Yeah, of course I agree with that, because if the conditions didn't call for urethane, then no one would use it.
Yeah. So, like, exactly. If they put something out, right, they're able to design the lane pattern. You can design lane patterns where you can force them out of the urethane, and yet they continue to put out lane patterns that encourage people to use urethane. So it's such a simple fix to me. It's just,
but here's the issue: is it's such a mixed issue among the fans and the people. There are people that are super against it. There's people that are super like, we should ban bowling, urethane maybe, and then there are people like, well, you know what? It's just a tool being used, and like, everyone will get over it in a year when they figure out how to make the conditions into the way they want them to. Now, here's my point: is I don't think the USBC, and it's just my opinion, I don't think they wanted to have as much urethane as what was getting thrown out there. I feel like they put out a condition, maybe they didn't think it was going to be that much urethane thrown, and it was a little bit of maybe a mistake on their end, because the Masters pattern was a lot better when it came to the scores being lower and just a lot more fair condition, I think, or lower scoring, what we want to see on a major, compared to the U.S. Open that had, Mike, there were pros averaging like 230, 240 using urethane balls. I mean, I don't think the USBC designed that pattern to do that, right? Like,
well, I want to go back to one thing for a second, and I'll offer a thought on what you just said there. But think about the premise, and your brother's going to get mad at me here, but that's okay. Jeff,
he gets mad at everybody.
Don't rant at me online for days on end here, right?
Oh, you're gonna get a rant.
I do not see the argument about banning urethane, right? Like, think about any other sport. Like, if a competitor in any other sport wanted to come out and use an older, less powerful piece of equipment, would anyone have a problem with that? No. And if in other sports that player bested the competition with that inferior, less powerful, less technology-filled piece of equipment, people would probably lose their shit and be like, oh, this person did something remarkable. This tennis player beat the other players using a wooden racket. So I don't get it. Like, what, you want to ban people from using something that's not as good technology-wise or advancement-wise as some of the other equipment out there today? So that's not the answer to me.
No, but you're wrong on that point.
Oh, man.
You're wrong.
Go ahead.
You're 100%
Why am I wrong? How am I wrong?
Because the equipment isn't the urethane. First off, is not at this point is not an inferior piece of technology. Because
sure it is.
They're using the urethane over the reactive resin. So what does that
doesn't mean? No. That doesn't mean that it's not inferior technology-wise. It's still inferior technology-wise. They're just choosing to use it because it's an effective tool, despite being
so it's not
inferior technology-wise.
So it's not inferior.
Technology-wise, right? Urethane urethane is a technology that predates reactive resin and anything that came after.
But it's an upgraded technology, though, the urethane, compared to what it was in the 80s and 90s. The cores are better in urethane balls. You telling me that the urethane of 80, the black UDOT, is a same piece of equipment that they're using today?
Are you really making this argument? Because I feel like this is disingenuous. Like, put a urethane ball in any regular league bowler's hand. If every regular league bowler was forced to use urethane for a season, scores would go back to what they were probably 35 years ago. Okay,
no, I don't believe that.
All right, well, the ball ain't going to hit as hard. It's not going to be as consistent. It's going to break the lanes down and make them tougher.
No, I could average I could average easily over 220 in a league with a purple hammer.
220 is nothing.
Yeah, but 220 compared to, like, if I would look and comparing league,
guys are averaging 240.
No, listen, but league compared to bowling high competitive tournaments is night and day, because they put a ton of volume out on leagues. Well, most good leagues, right, will put a lot of volume out in the middle of the lane, right? But the competitive shots, the shorter patterns, the flatter patterns, where there's actually fresh back ends, the urethanes are better. Are better than using the performance balls, because of the fact where they're stripped oil. The patterns are faster in the back of the lane. They're shorter. They're flatter. I feel like it's comparing a league with urethane, comparing it to what the PBA, the pros, are bowling on is night and day. And if it wasn't such an inferior piece of equipment, the pros wouldn't be using it. Because it is, you think is inferior. I get what you're saying, though. The technology is more advanced, right, in the balls that are designed today. But if the urethanes if the technology is so far behind, then why is every pro under the sun throwing a urethane these days? And I'll tell you why. It's really easy, because the rev rates today are higher compared to years ago, right? There's a lot more two-handed players that have that higher rev rate. The patterns are a lot fresher and a lot quicker in the back of the lane because of synthetic lanes, and they're not using a lot of volume in the front. So the fronts are hooking more, which is these pros are able to use urethane because of that. Okay. Now, is it bad for the sport? Now, I saw my brother's video that he posted on YouTube, and I agree with a lot of his points. Right, it is boring, right? Like, to watch someone throw urethane all day, every day, up right of 10. And bowling using urethane in qualifying on the tour is a lot different than using it on TV. And there's a lot of different points you can make of why pros shouldn't use urethane on TV compared to qualifying. Okay, but that being said, look, like, a lot of pros are using urethane, and I think it's something that everyone's going to have to get used to, whether they like it or not. I don't see any PBAs or USBC. I don't see anybody coming in and banning it, right? Because if that, then where's the line drawn, right? Are they going to ban plastic because it's easier to make 10 pins throwing a plastic ball? Like, are they going to, no, it's not going to happen. Now, should the USBC and should the PBA go back to the drawing board on these conditions that they're making, and go back to maybe Kegel and whoever is designing the patterns for them and say, hey, like, you guys have to figure out a way to make these conditions and make an oil that there's going to be less urethane being thrown because of the bowling ball companies, right? The bowling ball companies are making all these high performance bowling balls, and they get on TV.
I think it's hilarious.
Oh, what, that the bowling ball companies aren't able to? You look. Let me say a quick story about the U.S. Open this week, right? Chris Vi threw 23 games out of 24 games in the finals using a fast pitch. Okay, he used a proton physics the last game of match play. Mike, Storm Bowling. What do they do when Chris Vi makes the show? They put a picture of Chris Vi and the proton physics. Okay, Chris Vi made the TV show of the U.S. Open using a proton physics. Look, I don't blame them, right? Because he did use a proton physics. One game out of the 24, he threw it. But I mean, look, like, the companies are trying to sell their newest high-performance bowling ball. I don't blame them. But
it's a joke. I mean, that's why I find it hilarious, because everybody in the bowling world is convinced that it's the equipment, and then you see these guys going out and making these shows and bowling so well with, again, equipment that, you know, technologically is inferior. And, you know, Rob, you gave a long list of, like, factors there, and, you know, I think it basically boils down to, like I said, it's just a more effective piece of equipment at sometimes. You know, I like Matt Malzahn's comment here about people being scared to throw urethane in leagues because of all the crying that goes on because of it. Can I just tell you that is the biggest baby shit I've seen in a long time in bowling? I mean, seriously, like, I've seen people online cry about people throwing urethane, even personally, people that I know, and that is the biggest baby shit that I've seen in bowling in a long time. Like, what you don't have any say over what ball somebody throws. That's ridiculous. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, I don't know. I think, Rob, you know, we have a lot of other stuff to discuss tonight, so we don't want to make the whole episode about a debate on urethane and what it's affected. But we need to come back to this topic, though.
I got one last point, though, which was something that I think actually you brought up on social media. Are certain bowling balls making pros careers? Is the fast? Let's listen.
Can I get background information on that?
Is the pitch black and the purple hammer making certain players careers?
That wasn't the ball they were talking. First of all, that tweet got sent out by request. That tweet got sent out by request. All right,
well, someone's directing you to tweet out off our account?
Someone hit me up through personal text and said, "Yo, tweet this out." And I said, "Oh, you know what? That is a good, fair question. I will tweet that out." So that was by request. The ball they're talking about is the purple hammer.
Okay, I mean, but the pitch black too is.
I even know that there are players out there that feel that that's a cheater ball. That the purple hammer, that the purple hammer specifically is a cheater ball because of the issues with the softness and the fact that, you know, some of the balls were confiscated. You know, I know
back
that
to this now.
I'm just telling you what some of the feelings are out there that people were hitting me up about, you know, outside of social media. But yeah, I'll be honest. I think it's just crying because you don't have your hands on it. You know, I think it's one of those things where if you have it, you're thrilled to have it, and if you don't have it, you're really upset that you don't have it and somebody else does.
Here's the problem too, is that I brought this up on Twitter, is the fact where that specific ball is discontinued now. Because if anybody know this, who's in our chat, is that specific ball, the purple hammer, was made at the EBI plant in Louisville, right, Kentucky, and the plant closed. And I know certain pros cleaned out the purple hammers, right? Whatever they could find them, pro shops, headquarters, whatever. Now, that being discontinued, those balls eventually down the line, years from now, they might be at a premium, right? If you have one and you're looking to get rid of it. Now, I know Hammer is remaking it out of their Brunswick facility. Now, is that going to be the same ball that came out of the Louisville facility? Absolutely not, Mike.
Hopkinsville, Flanagan.
Hopkinsville. You get what I'm saying, Hopkinsville, right? it's not going to be the same ball, regardless if they have the same formula, the same weight block. It's not going to be the same ball. Okay, it just isn't. Trust me. There's been tried remakes. It doesn't ever end up being the same ball. Anyway, that being said, how long could they really let the urethane is going to keep that ball a lot fresher? It's going to be interesting to see what the new cheater ball ends up being. But if the conditions end up catching up, right? Anyhow, so we're done with the urethane conversation. I think we'll pick that up. I like to kind of get into.
It won though.
Well,
urethane
they had no
finally
choice.
won.
It had no choice. They all were throwing urethane. It was 5-for-5. Let's talk about the payout.
No, let's talk about the scores. The scores were atrocious. The scores were atrocious.
Terrible. I couldn't even watch it at the end of the.
It was a disgrace to what the U.S. Open is supposed to be. All right, the U.S. Open in bowling is supposed to be the ultimate challenge. Okay, lane condition wise, for years, 40 feet flat was the official pattern of the U.S. Open.
Remember the good old days?
They've tried some different things over the last few years, and I give them credit for trying. But I want to be the voice of the people here, Rob, the voice of the fans. And I want to say bring the 40-foot flat one pattern back immediately. Bring it back immediately. That's what the fans want to see the players compete on. It's the U.S. Open. We don't want to see 280 to 279 matches. Okay, we don't. Honestly, Rob, I shut off the match play after that match. Not only because it kind of put Bill out of it, but I'm not watching the U.S. Open for that.
Yeah,
I'm not watching the U.S. Open for that.
Okay,
I'm watching the U.S. Open to see 216 to 214. Okay,
sure.
Guy needs to get 9 in the 10th in the fill, and it's questionable whether he's going to get it or not. That's what I want to see in the U.S. Open. Okay.
Yeah, it was boring, Mike. It was boring. I tweeted out too.
It was so boring, man. It was so boring.
It was a bunch of urethane going down the lane, striking it all the time. It was tough to watch, especially how I've bowled U.S. Opens before. I've watched a lot more U.S. Opens, and that's what you feel like when you're gonna sit down and watch 24 games of match play, where a 240 game jumps you like 10 spots in the standings, right?
That's it. You hit the nail on the head right there. When the match play scores are what they are, Rob, you kind of take the possibility of someone making a huge run out of it, because even if you're going 70 over for a game or 80 over for a game, you might be losing ground on quite a few guys.
It's crazy, right? Which is crazy. And here's the thing is, would you rather see them? Because what ends up happening with the U.S. Open when they put out the flat is everybody goes back to now lofting the left gutter. So now the people who could throw the ball over the first 35 feet over the left gutter now have the advantage compared to the people who could play their urethane up 5.
Volume. You can.
All I'm saying is you're not going to make everybody happy all the time, because I feel like.
Agreed.
Now, let me ask you a question, Mike. Being that that all this urethane was getting played and all this conditions and where the scorings were in the Masters and the U.S. Open, they kind of handcuffed a lot of the two-handers like Belmonte, right? Like out of the cut, because now people that were like, right? Didn't it play like that? Like guys like Sterner now are making shows, and people like guys like Belmonte, still had great performances. Finishing 13th or 12th in the U.S. Open,
okay,
in a top 16 in the Masters is still nothing to sneeze at for any bowler out there. But for Belmonte, we have higher standards for him, right? If he doesn't make a TV show, it's to us it's a bad performance or a bad outing by him. He doesn't win, right? Which is crazy how that's saying.
No, it's not that crazy though. I'll be honest, it's not that. If we're gonna call him the GOAT, it's not that crazy.
It's not.
Look at other people's record, man. Look at Walter Ray's record. I actually pulled it up today. From 1993 through 2010, he won a title every year. Now I know he had more opportunities and more shots. I get it, but I don't think it's too high of a standard. I'll be honest. But
You know what I
but
feel like
yeah,
happened
back,
though?
back.
You know what,
Go ahead.
I feel like Hoagland, who makes the patterns for the USBC, who I know personally, I bowled against him in college and got to know him in college. I felt like he sat down and said, you know what? Let's force all these pros right. Let's force them right. Let's force them out to 10-5 and see what shakes out. And I feel like that's just my opinion, right? That's not, something that I know happened, but that's what it felt like, right? I mean, is that a valid point? Like they wanted to kind of move it out to 5 and finally give people who maybe are more straighter through the heads.
I feel like I said that on the show a few weeks ago, where I would like to see guys play right for longer stretches in a block, right? But I don't know if they did it purposefully, perhaps, but that was definitely the result. The negative of that was that it really, it turned into a urethane using score fest.
Yeah, I feel like Flanagan hits kind of. Look, Flanagan's out there. He probably watched more bowling than me and you combined last week. So in the last 2 weeks, so he kind of understands. Like, yeah, the power players were a little bit at a disadvantage, but the lefties weren't. That's for sure. Especially
let the lefties eat, man. It's been tough.
The lefties
tough year
ate.
Too for let the lefties eat, man. If you were a lefty and you didn't get it over these last 2 weeks, oh man, I don't know. It might be time to hang them up, yo. Seriously, because it's feast or famine out there, and it was feast time. So
right. So okay. So before we get into the show, I want to talk about the money. I want to talk about the money.
It's another. I mean, come on, man. Like it's a detriment. Okay. It's a detriment to the reputation of the U.S. Open of bowling.
Why do you think the payouts are so low right now? Like, if you were to give your opinion on why the Open and Masters payouts are lower compared to everything else, like what would you be your guess?
Honestly, I don't care. I don't even really have a guess. I'm sure there's I could give you a list of reasons. Effects from COVID and numbers being down in the USBC and the numbers being down in the US Open. And
what's a matter of where the money comes from, really, when it comes down to.
I understand, but here's going to be my bottom line, and everything that you might want to throw out there as a reason. Whatever it is, you got to find a way to get it resolved. That's it. Like this is a prestigious event for the bowling world, for the USBC, for professional bowling, for the PBA. You got to get it worked out. You have to find a way to improve upon the current standing. So
here's what I learned. Okay, I learned that the prize funds for the USBC Open, the Masters, and also I believe the Queens, right, all come from the USBC membership dues. That's where they come from. 100% of it comes from the membership dues, okay? The membership dues are voted every year by the delegates, okay, about what the membership, how much they should charge the USBC members every year, okay? So the USBC ends up with a budget and they end up having to budget money from the membership dues into how much money can you give the Masters and the US Open and whatnot. If the membership and the dues, if those are never raised, you're never going to get added money into the prize funds. That's what my understanding of it is, right? But the delegates in these local associations in the USBC, they don't care about putting money into the Masters and US Open's prize funds. They don't. They'd rather probably get that extra money, if there was extra money, into the local association's pockets, pockets. I mean, the local association tournaments or the benefits towards the members. But when it comes to the pros and the prize funds, that the delegates don't give a shit. They don't care about adding extra money into the prize funds. In my opinion, the membership, the $26 or $25 a year that the USBC members pay, is way too low. It's way too low. $25 a year, Mike? Like, and here's the thing is, as a bowler and someone who is a high competitive bowler or used to be or whatever you want to call me, I would pay $50 a year if I knew that $10 of that money was going into, you know, the USBC national tournament prize funds, the Masters prize funds, the US Open prize funds. I wouldn't give a shit about the extra $25. A lot of people do, though. That's the thing, is a lot of people are not me, right? A lot of people have, you know, jobs that, you know, aren't, maybe don't pay as well, and they have families, and, you know, they maybe can't afford the extra 50 a year. All I'm saying is there has to be some kind of added money, and I feel like the only added money that's going to come into the prize funds for the USBC is going to have to come from them raising membership dues and then taking that money and putting into the prize funds.
Yeah, but Rob, a lot of people, and you're right, Rob. You know, your situation is not the same as everyone's. Not everybody doesn't have kids or bills or rent or anything. So, you know, shout to you, or a girlfriend or a significant other. Shout to you, balling and being able to spend as much as you want on USBC dues. You know, not all of us feel that way. You know, but listen, I'll say this. You know, you talk about the dues being raised and that money being put to good use, but a lot of people, Rob, already question what they're getting from the USBC for the $25 that they're already paying. And I got to be honest, I'm one of them. I'm one of the people that kind of questions, like, well, what am I really getting for that $25? You know, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. And a lot of people think that the services or what's provided has gone down over the last few years. So I don't know how you're going to ask people to pay more to be a part of an organization.
Dude, I love it, though.
When they feel like they're getting less.
People start freaking out when you talk about raising dues or raising, like, dues for the USBC. Like, people start going nuts. And when you look, dude, would it come like 25 people? You're paying $13.99 a month for Netflix. Okay.
See, now this I disagree with, right? Dave P is saying, get lost. USBC dues shouldn't be going to prize funds for the pros. What other sport does that? Well, I mean, Dave, that's kind of an asinine take, in my opinion. And the reason I say that is because the USBC is the governing body of the sport. So I don't care if other sports do it. I do feel like the USBC should support professional bowling, because supporting professional bowling and seeing professional bowling grow is good for the game in general, right? Now, whether you're going to use dues or not, all right. I mean, maybe you find another way to do it. You know, everybody continues to talk about the sponsorships, but we have no idea what kind of money those are bringing in. So you could get all the sponsors in the world, and if it's not bolstering your bottom line, it doesn't really make all that much difference.
See, but from my understanding, the USBC doesn't generate revenue to their prize funds for ticket sales, sponsorships, or TV deals. Like that money doesn't go to the PBA, right? And here's the other thing too, right? So someone brought up a Flow Bowling subscription. Hey, guess what? We pay how much for a Flow Bowling subscription every year? $150 a year. But that money is not going back into probably bowling. It probably goes into all the other Flow sports that you get access to. So that people got to keep that in mind too. Like, you're paying for $150 a year for Flow Bowling, but
but people are paying $150. People are paying $150 a year because they want that product.
Right.
They want to see the product behind that paywall. That's why they're willing to pay $150. They want to see professional bowling, right?
They don't want to see Flow wrestling or Flow tennis or Flow.
But what does that tell you? That tells you that there's a value there. That tells you that there's a value there that clearly there isn't a similar value in any of the products that the USBC has to offer. Right. And listen, like, we talked about this before, and I know, you know, I'm not trying to ruffle feathers here, but we talked before about the PBA and the USBC working together more closely, right? Working better together. And I know that came up in your conversation that you referred to earlier, right? And perhaps you want to elaborate on that a little bit. But I will say this, and I'm not going to be too specific here because I don't want to put anybody out there that doesn't want to be put out there. But if you go back and you look and you do your research and you look closely and you pay attention, you will see that there has been a lot of back and forth, I will say, back and forth of employees between the PBA and the USBC, right? And again, like when I say working more together, you know, I think that that's one of the things I'm pointing to is like instead of stealing talent from each other, okay, why not bring all the talent and help it to improve bowling across the board, right?
Well,
But
my first question when I talked to Chad, I asked him about the two separate streaming services. To me, that's to me as a fan, right? And I'm saying this as a fan. This this is where Flow Bowling and the PW sorry, someone's outside yelling like a fucking maniac. The PBA and Flow Bowling and
is it OJ? Check
that?
if it's OJ. Is it OJ?
No, it's not. No,
are you
not.
sure?
Dude, I would have left
because
already.
If it's OJ, we got to interrupt everything we're doing here, and you got to take the computer outside with you.
Dude, I look for him every day. I do. Honestly, like I drive by his house. I slow roll his house. He probably thinks I'm gonna drive by because I literally go like 3 miles an hour, and I'm yelling, "Hey OJ, hey Juice, I need a selfie." But yeah, so my first point, like to bring up between the PBA and the USBC, was like that there's no streaming services, right? There's two different streaming services. I'm paying 150 for Flow. You want me to pay another 70 for Bowl TV? And I was like, well, why doesn't the two combine under one banner and make a one streaming service, right? Like for the bowlers, where it would be awesome to be able to watch the women's tour, the men's tour, the USBC national streams. Everything that Bowl TV gets, right? The collegiate national championships, all of that. It's for 200. Is someone going to pay 200, 250, 300, even 350 a year for that service? Because from my understanding is that's not financially feasible for them to put those services together and to maybe get people to subscribe because they might have to charge way too much money. I don't know the financials behind it or the exact details of why isn't it financially feasible. But I mean, yeah, it probably does make sense. I mean, it costs a lot of money to put those streaming services on, the equipment, the manpower, whatnot. Personally, as a fan, I mean, that'd be awesome, right? One streaming service. I'd pay $200 if I got everything.
That's what I'm saying. Right? Like, I don't care what the reasons are. You could email me a book of reasons. I don't care. I'm here talking about from the fans' perspective of what is good for the game, right?
Sure.
And what would be good for the improvement of the fan experience in bowling. And what you're referring to, Rob, a central place to go and watch anything bowling related would be a hell of a lot better than the path that we've been on for some time. And again, you had Extra Frame, right? Extra Frame kind of went out. Bowl TV started with more of a free broadcasting piece around that time. Okay, if I'm recalling things correctly here. Then you had Flow come in with the PBA. All right. Then you have Bowl TV go to a paywall, subscription-based service if you want to watch their thing. And again, guys, I'm going to tell you, you can go and do your own research. In those changes, there were a lot of employees shifting back and forth. I'm not going to say a lot of employees. There were some key people, really key people shifting back and forth in those moves that I don't know. Like I feel, and they all do a great job in their own respect, but I would like to see all that talent brought under one roof and see if it can really make improvements to bowling in a major way. Right. So
yeah, and and then I brought up the PWBA, just to see like, hey, the USBC, did they acquire the PWBA just to like, put the salt in the wounds to the PBA? You know what I mean? No, I don't believe that was the case. And my conversation was a good one because it was more of like, look, like the PWBA and having a national women's tour is good for bowling. Okay, it is to have a young women be able to have something to strive for out, and to be a professional ladies bowler and to try to do that for a living or go out and get a scholarship at an NCAA college and then go out and try to be a pro is good for the sport, and I agree with that. So having a women's tour is great for the sport compared to not having it at all, right? So that's why the USBC, picked it up, and they, decided that they were going to go and try to like make that work. And it costs USBC a lot of money. I can't imagine them making money on the women's tour right now, right? So it's just something that they're doing to grow the sport, and it's not costing them. It's costing them probably a lot more money than they're probably bringing in for it, especially when they're even doing it during COVID.
And oh man, I'm gonna have all kinds of people pissed off at me probably after this episode or whatever.
I love it.
I don't know the financials. I don't know the specifics. So like it's hard for me to comment, or anything I say, take it with a grain of salt, I guess. But USBC's got money coming from somewhere, Rob. Come on. I mean, there's membership dues, there's events they run that I'm sure in some of those events bring in some kind of revenue. I just find it hard. They have a campus. There's a campus. There's a training center they built not too long ago. So, like, I just find it hard to believe that if you have the resources to do a lot of that you don't have the resources to pay $100,000 first for the U.S. Open and at least prop up the top 24 prizes. I mean, I just find that hard to believe. I'm sorry. I mean, you could show me on paper, if you want, but listen, if you show me a budget of X millions of dollars, I'm going to say to you, the first thing that should come out of that is supporting the U.S. Open, right? So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just a difference of opinion of where the money should go. But again, I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan, and I don't.
People like you. You're in the minority of people thinking that the money should go to the U.S. Open and the Masters.
Well, ideally, I'd like to see a combination of what we both talked about here, right? And here's what I mean by that. So, like, you brought up the idea of increasing dues, okay? I brought up the idea or the fact that many people feel like the USBC, they're already not getting their money's worth, okay? So why not go down the road of increasing dues, but doing so in a way where people feel like they're going to get more for their money? Okay. Now, I don't know what that means. I'm not suggesting bringing awards back or something like that, because I think the awards are fraudulent anyway.
Look, like, here's something you got to look. I'm going to cut you off here, because this is something where you think that like somebody like a Chad Murphy or a high executive has just the power to increase the dues even by $1 and then decide where they want to put the money. But that's not the case. Everything that the dues and the membership has to be voted by and for in the legislation at the convention by the delegates, who don't give a shit about the highly competitive putting money into it.
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem. I know. The problem is that the people who run bowling, or the delegates, whoever uses the people who are involved in the voting process, Rob, they ain't me and you. They ain't the people watching this podcast. They ain't all the serious bowlers we know.
No.
So yeah, like when you get people who are only concerned about what's going on at the local level, right? If they're the people who are doing the voting and doing the input, right? Then yeah, sure. Like, they're only going to make decisions that are going to benefit the things that they're involved in. So really, you know what, Rob? You know what we need to do? We need to hear from some of these people, Rob.
Yeah, I love to hear.
We need to hear from some of these people, and we need to encourage. Rob, we're gonna try and start a movement right here. We're gonna try and start a movement right now.
I would love
here's the start of a movement. Okay, I appeal to all high-level bowlers that we know, all high-level bowlers, all knowledgeable bowlers, all people who love and respect the game, who are listeners of Sweep the Rack, viewers of Sweep the Rack. Let's get involved. Why not get involved? Let's get involved in our local associations. Let's take shit over. Let's take over the local association. Why shouldn't it be people like me and Rob out there as delegates, voting on the things that could really impact bowling with money being transferred, or organizations working together, right? Why not? Why not it be people like us as opposed to people who are only involved at a local level? And let's be honest, like, if you're only involved at the local level, then you really don't have a high level of involvement at all. So
no, and from my understanding, and this is just like me, like, making an opinion, but I feel like people like us they're not welcome to like join in a local association. They don't like they don't like younger, they don't like new ideas. They want to stick to their old-fashioned ways and how they do things, and they don't want to change, and they don't want to do different things and have new ideas, and people like me and you coming and stir shit up. And it's not even about Mitch. It's not even about changing the USBC. It's about getting involved in the local associations and go to the convention and talk about shit and try to change things. Mike, I'm all about it. I'm ready to make a change. And you know what? This might be the start of something. We might have to look into doing something. I'm gonna start thinking about some stuff to do, because I'm tired of talking and it's time to get some action. And I'm tired of seeing 30K first place prizes at the USBC Masters and Open. And if that has to come from the local, look, I'm curious to see what the delegates, who they are. And if I was to say, hey, let's raise dues $1, Mike, $1.
My God, Mitch Young says it would be cool to have them do a virtual town hall for members to voice their opinions. We got to find out if there is something like that. If there is something like that, we need to pack the house with Sweep the Rackers.
Dude, I would roll in there. All it would take is just me and you, Mike. And we would even. I mean, seriously, because guess what? You put me on the microphone, and I'm gonna chew out Ruthie and Bernie and all the people on the locals. Joan, Judy, and all the people that don't give a shit about, competitive bowling. All they care about is their local tournament and their local patches and, stuff like that. That doesn't, Phil, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be local in Vegas. So that's the problem.
the people are out here telling you can make a difference. I love it.
I'll make a difference wherever I go. Like Mike, I'm all about making a change and figuring out how to do it and getting people involved and starting some kind of like, nobody knows. Here's the problem, Mike. I've been in the bowling industry my whole life. You've been in the bowling industry your whole life. We don't know the exact processes, how the USBC and the local associations and the delegates and the voting and all that. We don't know how that works. Do you know how any of that works?
No, I don't, but I agree with Lucas Hardigan, who says never talk to someone who said that their local level isn't a joke. I agree, man. I totally agree. And yeah, I'm starting. Based on what Rob said and some of the things that came out of his conversation with Chad Murphy. It just got me thinking in terms of like, well, why isn't it people like me and you? Why is it people who really don't have a vested interest in all the levels of the game? Not just that one level.
Right. And that's the problem and now it's being visible with the prize fund of the US Open and the USBC Masters. Now that is coming, it's magnified now. And I'm surprised that none of the pros are trying to like get involved and try to change stuff, because they're being affected really as much as anybody else, because they're bowling it and they're having to deal with $1,000 check. Right, and people are so quick to blame the high executives of USBC, but they don't realize that they don't have a lot of power to make the change. It comes from the local levels and the delegates voting on stuff to make changes. It's a completely hate to say it, Mike, a lot of, I'd say, government, right, where you're voting for your local people and you expect your local people to make changes and represent you in your area. But it just seems like nobody really knows, and people are just so quick to complain about higher ups and not realizing what the real process is. So, Mike, we could talk hours about this. I love this conversation. I love this topic, because I feel like this actually
we're gonna come back to it. Yo, Chad Murphy, if you're listening, here's what I need. I need you to put us in touch with some delegates that we can come on the show and have some of these conversations with us. I want to see where these people are coming from. I want to see I want to see what their position is in terms of some of these ideas that Rob and I throw out there that might be disagreeable. All right, Rob, yeah. we have right. Rob, we're going into overtime.
It's all right, Mike. You're already late. So you put us behind.
I got my second shot today. Last week you were moaning and complaining.
Shit.
Yeah. See, you're over here. You're all making fun of me. You're all giving me a bunch of shit. Okay, and I'm not even feeling good. But
that's a problem.
It is.
It's a problem.
It is.
I think this is a problem that needs to be addressed. And hey, what better people, Mike, to address a problem and make it fun?
Real bowlers need
The
to
Real
take over
Bowling
the USBC.
Fan Podcast.
It's time. It's time that the real bowlers take over the USBC. Guys, I'm sick.
I'm ready to
You
storm the
think I'm
Capitol,
joking?
Mike.
I'm dead serious.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
We're serious.
Let's do it. Like we know
We're
people, serious bowlers in every state. You know, let's talk. Email us, sweeptherack@gmail. Right.
We're gonna do it.
Let's find out what we need to do. Let's put the information out there. Right. You know, let's see if we can make headway and make progress. But I don't think it would be that hard. I mean, really, like
we're gonna shake shit up, Mike. We're gonna shake shit up. You know what better people to shake shit up, and it's you and I, brother. Because I guess what I love shaking shit up. That's what gets me going. That's what gets me up in the morning, Mike. Is to know that I'm gonna shake shit up today. You know,
is the USBC convention going on this week? If it is, Chad Murphy,
here's the thing:
can we get in town hall? Can we get on a panel of some kind?
I've already started looking into being able to maybe propose or do something to be able to get into next year's convention, Mike, because a lot of the stuff that goes down, is going to go down next year. I think let's start planning and let's get into next year's and I'm not going in there half-fast. I'm going in there with
2022. The takeover. The takeover 2022. Let's focus.
Dude, I love
on
that. Dude, I was sick. I had 101 fever plus Matt Malzahn. I got my shot Tuesday afternoon and I did the show Wednesday night. Let's see how Mike feels tomorrow night, okay? Especially if he got Moderna, okay?
I didn't. I got Pfizer, but
so he got the.
I'm not gonna lie. Work tomorrow is not looking good right now. I gotta say.
Oh, dude, wait till you wake up tomorrow. You're screwed. Okay, we got to talk TV show U.S. Open, right? Because there was a bunch of stuff going on at the TV show, right? Now, here's the thing.
Shout to Chris Vi.
Chris Vi. Okay.
Shout to Chris Vi. Hottest bowler on the planet.
Dude, his first title was a major.
And I had an argument with somebody who texted me and said, "Hey, Chris Vi is the hot," or actually it was on Twitter. It was Tang. It was one of the Tangs on Twitter who said, "Oh, Chris Vi is the hottest bowler on the planet." And I said, "No, you can't wear that crown unless you win. I'm sorry, you don't get that crown without a win, right? Or at least without like multiple second place finishes in a row." Okay. Dude, shout to Chris Vi, man, hottest bowler on the planet. I'll put that title on his head after that win. Wins the U.S. Open, wins his first title, wins his first major.
Few things here. Okay, being sweep the rack. Okay, the last match, the final 4 frames. Okay, I love Jacob.
Buttriff.
I love Buttriff. He's a great kid. He does everything the right way.
Call it like it is, Rob, or I'm gonna call you out.
He folded like a cheap suit under pressure.
That was big choke status, yo.
He choked, dude. He choked. That one shot he threw. Status. He had the match by the nuts. By the nuts, he had the match.
Had it locked down.
Locked it. And then he went and drew.
I mean, that was the shot. He gets up and strikes there. That game is, for all intents and purposes, is over.
Dude, and that's where it was. And he got up and to be a US Open champ, Mike, you have to throw the shots and the big cheese and the big moments. Rob, you think if Buttriff would get pissed at not getting first all these times, it would light a fire under his ass to get that W by now instead of taking selfies with the winner? Man, that's just who he is. I mean, either you have that burning animal instinct to win like Pete Weber, right? Or you don't. And you can't teach that. It's either you have it or you don't. And Buttriff is an unbelievable bowler. He really is. The kid's a great bowler, but I would love to see him get a little bit of fire and a little bit of intensity in those matches. And I feel like he's a little bit mentally like he's expecting second now instead of expecting to win. And I feel like he's in that mindset.
Okay with it. He's okay with it.
And that's bad.
And that's not
okay. Not going to win titles.
That's not okay to be at the professional level. Robert Hamilton says, Vi had a few good months. First title, major, and shot 300 on TV. Hottest bowler on the planet, Robert. Give the guy the crown. Give the guy the crown right now. Hottest bowler on the planet.
But think about what's so more impressive is him as a two-hander winning a tournament that realistically should have been won by a lefty or a straight player from the right as a one-handed. The kid is a two-hander, and a lot of the big two-handeds, Mike, Kyle Troop, Jason Belmonte both struggled at the U.S. Open, right? Belmonte not so much. Kyle Troop struggled tremendously. Vi, on the other hand, dude, kid's been hot as he got hot at the right time.
I so wanted to come on here tonight and talk about Belmonte, but we're not going to get to it. Maybe next week. We'll save that for next week. Matt Malzahn saying, shout to Butters, though. He reached out and he and Vi are joining forces for the Jody Boyd 10K event, Columbus, Ohio. Matt, can I say that's weak? That's weak to me. Okay. That's some Kevin Durant. I can't beat you, so I'm going to join you. All right. I'm not with that. Okay. Kevin Durant, to me, has 0 NBA titles. All right. Because you don't get credit for going and joining the people you can't beat and winning with them. All right. Especially in bowling, an individual sport where you're supposed to have that fire of wanting to take the other guy out. Rob, I had the Young Bull. I put it out on Twitter. I had the Young Bull.
The Pineapple Express?
Pineapple Express, the Ginger Assassin, whatever you want to call him. I followed the kid for a while. I said it on Twitter. I really thought he was going to really make a run at the title. I predicted that he would come out in the first game like Tyson in his prime. He did exactly that. Okay, he went out and just ate lunch in the first game. Transition caught him a little bit in the second game, right? Do you want to talk about the 7-10 or do you not want to talk? Because, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I don't get it. Why is all the hype on the 7-10? First of all, it's lucky. Secondly, the pin bounced off the ball in the back. I'm not even sure that should count. Okay. Third, the only way you get excited about a 7-10 like that is if you've never seen one made before. Once you've seen one made or two made, it's kind of like, oh, hey, nice shot. All right, lucky as shit. Great job. Okay. The only person I really ever have interest in shooting a 7-10 in any way is Joe Stillman. Okay. Get me Joe Stillman back. Now I'll talk 7-10. But if we're not talking Joe Stillman, I really don't want to talk 7-10. I'll be honest.
Okay. So, to a high level bowling fan, Mike, the 7-10 might not impress you because it takes a lot to impress Big Mike these days. You have to literally shoot a 7-10 blindfolded, lefty between your legs in order for Big Mike to give props on a 7-10. Okay. Now look, this was the first time someone made a 7-10 in 30 years. Okay. It was the fourth time it's ever happened on TV. Okay. So yes, it is kind of a big deal. And I will go on record saying that I enjoy the publicity the mainstream media gives to the 7-10 split. I do. I think it's good for the sport. People, they pay attention to it, and it's like, oh shit, look at that. It's great, whatever. But my problem is, and the reason why I made that meme, right, which seems to be a kind of a hit these days, is the fact where, and I think Jeff Riggles too is kind of, voiced his opinion, is the fact that, yes, the 7-10 is great. Like, we all love the publicity it gets, but we want to be at the point in the bowling world where they cover the 7-10 split as well as the highlights of that championship match, and maybe even a 10-second clip of the interview with the winner on the mainstream media, right? Like, hey, look what happened. This 7-10 got made first time in 30 years. And then, yeah, Chris Vi, who's never won a title, won the U.S. Open, beating Jacob Buttriff, whatever score to score for his first U.S. Open title, show him with the trophy, and then, show, maybe a cut of the interview, and then you be done with it. You move on to the next story. That's all we're asking for right now, is bowling to get recognized on a national level.
And I appreciate that side of it. I appreciate that side of it. I do.
Not just when something happens once every 30 years does bowling get recognition. Think about all the times bowling has been covered in the mainstream media, okay? Just the 3 or 4 instances that come off of the top of my head. The 7-10, right? Josh Blanchard falling on the lane. Pete Weber yelling at a kid.
Right.
Who do you think you are? I am. And then maybe I don't know.
Mike
Machuga doing the flop.
Right.
Right. But how many of those were actually like big bowling moments in bowling like history, right? Maybe
I
the
gotta be
7-10.
honest, like, it doesn't seem that complicated for bowling to get coverage. Just have the bowlers do some crazy shit every time there's a bowling event, and and we'll get coverage. I'm just saying, like, from the bowling perspective, like from the bowling fans' perspective, it's ho-hum. I'm sorry. It's like, ho-hum. The guy made a 710. Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it was on TV. Now, can I make a point, though? The 710 split conversion, okay, should be the best bet in professional sports. You feel me on that?
The best bet, you mean?
The best bet in professional sports should 100%. Be the 710 split conversion. Shouldn't it? Doesn't that
on
make
TV?
Perfect sense? Right? Like bowling show, there's always a bet. Will someone make the 710? It's 1,000 to 1 odds, or maybe it's even 5,000 to 1 odds.
Higher,
okay,
yeah, easily
10,000 to 1. I don't know. I'm not, I'm not an odds guy. PJ Haggerty can figure that out for us. It would be high though. That should be the best bet in professional sports. Where else in professional sports could you put down $1 or $5 and come away with a few grand? Okay, for one single bet, one thing to happen, right? I mean, could you imagine how big that would have been if betting was involved in bowling and people had odds on that? I mean,
imagine the video. God. Imagine the video that reminded me of
going crazy, of people when they win the bet going nuts. Could you imagine?
Like when the guy put like $1 million on the roulette wheel and they hit, and all of his friends are like jumping up and down.
That's what it should be. That's what the 710 in bowling should be. It should be like every time a bowler leaves a 710 on TV, it should be, oh my God, 710. All right. Oh, set up the cameras. You're going to make it all. That's what it should be. But because there's no betting on bowling,
right.
It's just a guy making a 710.
Look, and that's the thing is, like, I love the fact that they had national coverage. And I saw someone in the chat say something, we don't want the national coverage because of the 30K prize fund. No. Look, the only way you're going to get those prize funds to be bigger is if more people watch.
Yeah.
Is getting the coverage, and then more people start bowling.
Bill O'Neill. Yep, Bill O'Neill, our homie, right, was on a Philadelphia sports radio talk station today. They brought him on. They had a nice 10-minute conversation back and forth with him. Rob, why do you think they brought him on?
Because a 710 got made?
Yeah. I mean,
I know. And that's what it is. But hey, that's
tell
what
me
it is,
I'm wrong, though. Tell me I'm wrong, Lucas. Lucas Wiseman says all roads lead to gambling.
You're not, because
you want to know why, Lucas? Because all roads to success for professional bowling lead to gambling. That's why.
Yeah, because we were gambling at 12 years old. I've been gambling on bowling since I was 13 years old. I mean, everybody's, at least when I was growing up, was bowling pot games at, 13, 14 years old. I mean, not saying everybody, but I did. And I know, like, that's always been in the sport. It's been in the sport since, years, decades, centuries of whatever bowling started, right? So look, like, you're right, bowling, but as a professional level, I think they're trying to figure out the way to do it. And, hey, bowling, PBA, DraftKings, right? They sponsor cornhole, okay? We could do that, okay? Cornhole has a lot of odds and a lot of different kinds of things for their cornhole championships. And we don't have any of that. So I think it's doable. If people say it's not doable, obviously cornhole did it, and it's cornhole, right? So moving on, Mike, you think it's time for worst of the week? Do you want to do that, or is there anything else you want to get into?
Yeah, we're running late. I mean, honestly, I would love to get into the U.S. Open a little bit more and like analyze it. Maybe we can come back to it next week. I thought the action, despite the my unhappiness with the tournament up to that point, I really thought that the show itself was pretty good. I mean, I thought that the bowling was interesting and the shot making was interesting, and definitely the pressure there at the end. Like your brother mentioned, how Chris Vi also threw some shots out the window there at the end that he had a chance to wrap up. So you could really sense the pressure of the U.S. Open title and what it meant to both of these players there. I think the money aspect, as much as we want to talk about it, was kind of thrown out the window because it is the U.S. Open. It is a huge title for these guys. But again, I just want to say shout to Chris Vi. I know he's been out there grinding for a while and doing his thing, and he's made numerous major shows in a row. Has really had a tremendous run over the last few months, as someone mentioned in the chat. So shout to him, man. Hottest bowler on the planet, Rob. That's a good title to have. The bad thing is that like there's not, the bowling season is kind of wrapping it up, right? In terms of
Super Slam
competition.
Super Slam is next weekend.
Rob, it's a story of the rich get richer.
The rich
Isn't
get
it?
richer.
Right?
So if anybody
All these
doesn't
guys who
Yeah,
won these major titles now are going to go bowl for another $100,000 this week, and then the playoffs, which you would imagine they all qualified for, which is another $100,000, is the following weekend. So rich get richer.
I guess
here.
my beef, the only beef I had with the way that they're paying $100,000 for the Super Slam. So you're telling me that like Bolero couldn't take that $100,000 and kick it over to the U.S. Open and put that into the prize fund of the Masters? I guess that's my only.
No, that ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen.
Just saying.
I don't expect that to happen either.
Look, like I'm just saying, like that's as a fan, I know it's not feasible, but that's kind of where you kind of like to see it. But yeah, anyway, for the Super Slam is next weekend. If anybody doesn't know what it is, top five, all five major winners are going to bowl on the same show. They're going to bowl one game, do a seeding round. The low score of the first game is going to get eliminated, and then after the first game, the 1 seed's going to bowl the 4 seed, the 2 seed's going to bowl the 3 seed, and then the winners are going to bowl each other for the crown of the Super Slam, who's going to get a title. And that's not a title. I mean, it's just for the money, but rich get richer, Mike. But guess what? They kind of earned it, so I don't mind it, to be honest with you. They won a major, and they kind of deserve to at least. I'm really hoping someone from the U.S. Open or the Masters wins that to kind of supplement the money that they didn't get from their first place.
That would be poetic justice right there. That would be poetic justice. So listen, bowling action next couple weekends, Rob. Super Slam is this weekend, I believe that's live, and then next weekend you have, I believe, 2 live shows, both for the PBA playoffs. So obviously next week on our episode, we'll probably get into PBA playoffs, talk some predictions for that, take a look at some of the matches, I would imagine. But more bowling action coming up, and that's always a good thing, Rob.
Cool, it is. Okay, well, it's time for worst of the week.
Oh, just advertise it, Jeff. Come on, you're the host, brother. Put up whatever you want. We don't care.
Oh
Just
God, no,
my goodness,
no. PM him. I don't know what he's about to put up. All right.
Let's go. All right. You want to go, or am I going?
I had a great worst of the week all queued up, and I've been trying to find it in my chat, in my pictures or whatnot. So you go first. I need an extra 2 minutes to try to find this this post, because it was just too good to not share it.
All right. So maybe I'm wrong on this one. I don't know. This might be the first worst of the week where I'm taking a risk here. Okay, I'm taking a little bit of a risk in this worst of the week. You know what I'm putting out there, son. I already sent it to you. I brought this to your attention. It was like, I'm going on this one. Trust me. So Dave Portnoy, Barstool. Okay. He sent out a tweet that was a retweet of the 710 make by Anthony Neuer. Okay. He says in that tweet, "I'm in such a bad mood because of Major League Baseball cheating. I need to watch a sport that is still pure and true." Okay. So he sends out that tweet. And then member of the PBA marketing dream team, Jill Laufer, retweeted Portnoy's tweet and said the following: "Big day for bowling." Now, could be two things here. I could be misinterpreting. Could have been talking about the 710 being a big day for bowling. And I'll let you off the hook a little bit if that was the case. You're still wrong. You're still wrong in many senses to me, right? I know about the media side and the coverage, but, ho-hum, okay, we talked about it already. But if you're referring to Dave Portnoy retweeting the thing about bowling and that being big, then I got to give you worst of the week for that. I have to. Stand by it. have to give you worst of the week for that one. So that's going to be my my worst of the week. Yeah, Jimmy, we're not even going to go there, Jimmy. We're not even going to go there, right? But we saw it. Believe me, we took note of it.
Saw it.
Not even going to go there. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. But nonetheless, depends which way that one was going. But if it was going in the direction that I mentioned, I would definitely have to give that worst of the week.
Gotcha. Okay, well, my worst of the week is a little more on the lighter side. I can't find the one that I wanted to say, so I'm going to have to save that for next week. This was a comment from A.G. Hicksonbaugh that was a few weeks back that I made a comment on because I just couldn't resist on how bad of a post it was. So I had to really comment, and I completely trolled the thread, and it made me laugh for a while. So here was the comment. It commented on the USBC discussion boards, the gift that keeps on giving. So I realized this is a situation that would probably never occur in competitive bowling, but it made me curious. Today I was bowling with a friend and his kids. One kid is using bumpers and rolls the ball so slowly that it stopped about 40 feet down the lane and started rolling backwards. It actually made it all the way back to the approach. We just gave her the ball and let her roll again. But in theory, if this somehow happened in league, Mike, does it count as 0? Okay. So I responded, okay. And I wrote, yo, this situation happened to my friend who had the front 9 in league. That's some crazy stuff. Dude, people were commenting like, yo, how did that happen? And I would just be like, yo, he just didn't have enough ball speed and the ball stopped and came back to him. And people were like, yo, I can't believe that happened. And I just kind of went, dude, it made my whole week, like that thread itself. But I thought that was hilarious because I don't know if that kid who posted that was specifically asking if it happened like a kids league, like what would be the situation?
You're whenever you go and you engage the people on the USBC boards, you're always going to get the crazies coming out, Rob.
Dude, it's the best. It's the best, and it's such a toxic, and it's becoming so much of the PBA message board that it's like a rebirth, like a phoenix that rose from the ashes of the PBA message boards that went to the USBC message boards. And it's like my favorite now to like read those posts. And it's funny, Facebook knows that I read these posts. So now it's like front and center every time I log into Facebook, someone posted on the USBC message boards. So I got to really sometimes help myself from not trolling so bad, but I once in a while will come in with a nice little zinger, Mike.
Well, congrats to those folks. It's a first for Jill Alpher. Congratulations, worst of the week. Congratulations to Rob's worst of the week.
Hit some bottom.
hit the people with it, Rob. All right, final thoughts?
Nothing, man. I really liked the discussion today about the USBC and about, trying to make a change in the sport. And I feel like we're on to something, Mike, because, I want to show the people out there that we're not just talk. I want to like bring some action and try to create some change in the sport of that we love so much. And Mike, I'm even thinking about, maybe come out and bowl the Masters of US Open next year or one of the two to kind of mix it up a little bit and just kind of get back into it. So, I'm bowling the national tournament next month here. Got on a team with a previous guest named Chris Viali. So I get to bowl with him. Fortunately for me, I'm in Vegas and I still have my amateur status. So a lot of people need amateurs because that's really hard to come by these days, I guess. So, yeah, I've been practicing a little bit. Oh, I got a quick funny story. Great story, okay? So I was practicing Sunday at the Red Rock, and I was on the front 9, just bowling one game, whatever. And I got on my third step, and I tripped on myself, and I fell on the lane. And the ball was going down the lane, and I was laid out on the approach watching it go down the lane, and my knee was all banged up, and I struck, and these people were going crazy. And it was the one time that I really wish I had my practice 300 on video, because I would have for sure posted that, because that was just pure comedy. And it had nothing to do with the 300, but who cares? The practice 300, right? But dude, my knee's still hurting, and I don't know. It kind of made me laugh. So anyway, what about you, Mike?
Lucas Hardigan wants our Super Slam prediction. I sat here and put the title of hottest bowler on the planet on Chris Vi. I'm gonna take Chris Vi.
Well, where is it? Is it in the same Florida?
No, it's in I think it's in like North Carolina or something.
Oh, because I was gonna say, if it's in the same bone center that Tom Doherty won.
No, it's not. It's not.
Man, that's a good. I'm gonna go with Frankie.
Okay.
I'm going with Frankie.
Pick. Solid pick. All right, here's my final thought for the night. Belmo on social media today. He's cooped up in
he's in quarantine,
right? Okay. Yep. So on social media today, he said, "I'm in isolation for 14 days. Ask me anything to help kill a few hours." Sure. So he posted the questions. One of them was, "What's your goal for 2022?" Okay. Share what he wrote. Share his response. Destroy everyone on any lane pattern in any house. I will have more time off than I ever have before to work on some new stuff. So enjoy the 2021 season, fellas. You won't like me next season.
That's scary. I feel bad for you guys. I don't want to bowl the U.S. Open and the Masters anymore, Mike.
Spicy Belmo. Spicy Belmo. I mean, my goodness. My goodness gracious. Man,
wow.
Man.
Good for him, man.
I mean,
this year put things into perspective for him a little bit, I think.
But I think that's maybe we could talk about it a little bit over the coming weeks when the action slows down a little bit. But I want to do a deep dive on his season this year, Rob. I want to do a deep dive on it. So, we can talk about a lot of things there. So, all right, guys. As always, we appreciate everybody joining us, man. We appreciate everybody. We greatly appreciate and give a shout to all of you who come and join us
Yeah, we love you guys.
Those who are in the bowling industry, those who are not, we appreciate the feedback from everybody. Continue to reach out to us. Sweep the Rack at Gmail. On Twitter, we're Sweep the Rack on Twitter. Sweep the Rack across the board. Rob is Brooklyn Rob 11. I am at the 215 on Twitter. So reach out to us there. Get in touch. Spread the word, guys. Spread the word. Spread the word about the podcast. Rob, we get so many emails of people reaching out saying, "Hey, I just discovered your podcast and it's awesome and I'm in the bowl." Guys, spread the word. Let people know. Tell them, "Hey, check this podcast out. These guys are always talking bowling." And hey, listen, I appeal to the people again, Rob. Let's take over. Let's orchestrate the takeover.
Hey, Mitch. By the way, I messaged Sirius XM on Facebook and told them about the podcast. I did. I'll show you a message. I did. Haven't heard anything back, but I'll stay on it. I'm gonna use my sales techniques. I gotta sneak into those DMs. But Mike,
people,
great show.
Peace. We'll see you next week.
Y'all, see you next week. Have a good one.
Enjoy the live bowling.
Enjoy the second shot of COVID.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.